The Leafs made a trade today, trading two players, Koliakabo and Steen, for player Lee Stempniak. We felt we were acquiring a top six forward, someone who can contribute substantially offensively.
McClement, down low, Stempniak scores! What a shot! The warning shot came late last season. Yesterday's acquisition of Lee Stempniak from St. Louis is merely the latest in a series of dramatic shifts on the Maple Leaf roster. Stempniak possesses many of the qualities similar to his new teammates, the aspects of speed and intelligence, players that have a huge upside to their game.
Fresh face on the Toronto Maple Leafs is Lee Stempniak. He's added a little fresh tape on that stick. Prepares for his first game wearing the blue and white tonight here on LeafsTV. Welcome everybody to Leaf Nation HQ at Gate 1 of the Air Canada Centre. I'm Jody Vance along with Joe Bowen, Mark Morrow, and our senior reporter at LeafsTV, Paul Hendrick. Glad you could join us tonight. Obviously a huge couple of days for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Big trade. Alex Steen and Carlo Koliakabo are now members officially of the St. Louis Blues. Physicals have all been passed, and Lee Stempniak is in the building and ready to take to the ice. And that is our top story in our headlines, brought to you by Ford and powered by you. Paul?
First headline, the newest Maple Leaf. We will talk about Lee Stempniak. The second headline, the need to play 60 minutes like Saturday's opening 30 against Chicago. And our third headline, having to nip some bad habits, and that is play defensive hockey and play it better. Well, Toronto turns over a new leaf. Lee Stempniak is now a member of the blue and white. And Joe, I ask you, does the supporting cast existing here in Toronto give this man a chance to be a 20-goal scorer once again?
Well, I think, Paul, one of the things is that the fact that Cliff Fletcher believes that Lee Stempniak is going to be one of his top six forwards, and that means he's going to get an awful lot of ice time. The other thing is he's a right-handed shot, and they've got an abundance of right-handed shots for defensemen. He is one of two, I believe, as far as the forwards are concerned. So what that is going to do is give him a lot of opportunity on the power play, and if it fixes one aspect of their power play, 5 against 3, he'll be worth the trade.
It'll be part of an all-NCAA line here, at least for the opening period, Mark. Jason Blake, Dominic Moore. Moore and he were adversaries at one time in the old ECAC when Harvard always put a pummeling down on old Dartmouth.
And you know what? Sometimes when you're enemies, when you're brought together, it makes you that much stronger. And that's what they're absolutely hoping for in this case. But it'll be interesting to see how long he actually stays with that line. We're looking at him playing with Dominic Moore and Jason Blake to start the game. But as Ron Wilson always does, he mixes and matches. He's like a chemistry set behind that bench. He'll mix up these lines. They're going to look to find the right spot for Stempniak on this team. It may be on that line. It may be on another one. It'll be interesting to see where he ends up.
Well, the West Seneca, New York native will now join Matt Martin and Kevin Adams as Buffalo area natives to play for the Toronto Maple Leafs. He had a chance this morning to speak with our very own Andi Petrillo.
Lee, first of all, welcome to Toronto. When did you find out you were traded to the Toronto Maple Leafs, and what was your reaction?
Found out yesterday afternoon. I was actually getting ready to shower and head to the airport to catch a flight to Nashville, but I just went up to the offices and told me they were sending me to Toronto, which is exciting. You know, I thought it'd be sort of mixed emotions at the time, but it was really exciting for me. There was a bit of shock in it, not expected, but it's an original six team. There's so much history here. It's the capital of the hockey world, and a really promising team. So I'm really excited to be a part of it.
And we will run the full Lee Stempniak interview with Andi Petrillo later on in the show. Joe has talked about the right fit here in terms of lefts and rights, and we never put much that thought into it. But when it comes down to setting up a power play, Mark, and just providing yourself with some strength on the other side, this guy fits right in because there isn't much in terms of right-handed shots with the Maple Leafs.
No, there isn't, and Joe alluded to it a minute ago, but you look at these numbers, 10 of their 12 forwards all shoot left. Jamal Mayers was the only right-handed shot before this trade. Alex Steen was a left shot as well. So it's an opportunity. The power play, yes, it's been working very well, 5-on-4. 5-on-3, it's been struggling. And the main reason for that is they're putting out, for the most part, 3 left shots because you have Thomas Caberlet at the point, who is also a left shot. Very easy to defend when you know what side the shot is going to come from. So him coming in is able to bring that little bit extra, that addition on the right side. Now you have more options to work with, and it gives them a whole new look for their power play.
Well, the second headline involves the ability for the Maple Leafs to play 60 minutes of hockey tonight the way they played the opening 30 against the Chicago Blackhawks on Saturday night. And Joe, one has to wonder whether Toronto's greatest asset for that first 30 Saturday night was the ability, at least at that point in time, to play within itself.
Well, you know, the one thing, too, Paul, is the fact is that they've never really put 60 minutes together. I mean, they have either fallen behind by 2 and made a roaring comeback to come back, or in the other instance, they went up by 3 and then found that the doors opened up and the floodgates opened, and all of a sudden the game got frittered away. So consistency is something that they're striving for, and that's a tough thing for Ron Wilson to try to coach, because that's something that you have to kind of acquire, I think, over the thing. And right now they have to do is make sure that they go out and play each shift like they have, and like the previous one, especially when you're playing well enough to get a 3-0 lead. And then when you all of a sudden stop skating, you let the other guy get back into the game. And when they do that, that's what happened.
Headline number 3. Well, headline number 3, nipping those bad habits, and that means playing a better game defensively. And this may roll into what you've just talked about as well, Joe. And Mark, I have to wonder as to where the Maple Leafs start in terms of getting better defensively in that first instance.
Well, a lot of it has to do with exactly what Joe's talking about, following up on a consistent basis after a good shift. And a lot of these are just simple positioning mistakes. The Leafs' attitude towards blocking shots makes they're constantly looking to get in those shooting lanes. But a lot of times it's at a consequence of finding the guys defensively, being in the right spot to pick up a guy. If they don't block the shot, it gets through, there's a rebound. To get there, tie up sticks, clear that puck away. And sometimes they get so preoccupied and focused on just that one element that they forget about the others. And that's what we're seeing in a lot of these goals. Guys are in the right position to block the shot, but if the shot doesn't come, they're in the wrong position defensively.
Jeff Finger had you want to add to that?
I want to say one thing, too, is the aspect is this team is among the top 3 in the league in shots for. It's in the top 5 in the league in shots against, least shots against. They're doing things right defensively. They got to get better goaltending, and I think that's a key factor. Vesa Toskala has struggled. Will he get better? Everyone thinks so, and I'm sure he will. But Curtis Joseph's getting the start tonight, and that's no strange situation here. Yeah, it's time for him to play and make sure that he's got some action in. But right now, I think Vesa Toskala is struggling. When you're allowing 24 shots a game, that's up in the neighborhood of what the Detroit Red Wings do on a regular basis. You got to have better goaltending.
And you know what? You're absolutely right about the goaltending, but it comes down to that consistent defensive play. For a majority of the game, they're playing great defensively. But when a lot of these goals are occurring, that's when the breakdowns are occurring. In the National Hockey League, it only takes one mistake, one breakdown for that to come back and haunt you.
Well, no one said Jeff Finger was going to play every one of his games perfectly. He did have a rough outing on Saturday night. He also missed all of training camp, and he missed the first 7 games of the regular season. But, Joe, he was a +4 in his previous 12 games, and I think we've got to give this guy a pass, at least on one night.
Well, I think you have to give everybody a pass on one night anyway, because you're not going to have 82 gems. However, the one thing about Jeff Finger has been, he has been pretty consistent, and he's been consistently good in his own end. He's not a high-scoring defenseman by any stretch of the imagination, but he is a physical player, and he's done a decent job as far as his own end. And I think you have to give him the benefit of the doubt. He'll come around and play well again tonight.
I like the way he's worked as well with Luke Schenn. He has been a very mentoring factor in that young man's development, so it's a double-fold situation here for the Maple Leafs and how he benefits his hockey club.
Yeah, he's been a calming influence throughout the whole D-corps. He just brings that defensive stability, a lot of what Luke Schenn was providing early when he wasn't here, and he just added to that, and he really is a mentor for Luke Schenn. That's what Luke Schenn has to develop into, that kind of calming influence on the back end.
All right, we're going to send Joe upstairs. You're going to have a busy night here on LeafsTV. And then Greg Millen's going to join us because it's time to break down the competition. What are the Thrashers like? They've been rather streaky of late. Greg Millen will chime in next here on LeafsTV. We're counting down to the puck drop on our network, Channel 97, and in high definition on Rogers 500.